Hi, welcome back. So in the next few videos, we're focusing on editing and updating comments rather than campgrounds, which we just finished. So we have a few videos. The first one is around getting the edit and update routes to work. The next one is on getting the destroy route. And then the last one will be on adding in our authorization to comments. So to start, for these two videos, anyone can edit a comment or anyone can delete a comment. It doesn't matter if they own it or not. So in this video, we're starting with editing, and we have three main things to add. The first one is our edit route for a comment. The next one is adding a button so that we can click on a button to go to that edit route next to every comment. And then lastly, we want to add in the correct update route that actually updates the database so that everything works just fine. So if I take a look right now at what we have, I'll go back to campgrounds. And I did add in a few new campgrounds because we deleted all of them in the last video. Once I add a comment, which I already have here, wonderful comment, I want to see an edit and a delete button. And to start, again, they'll just show up for everyone. So by the end of this video, every comment should have edit and delete, and anyone can delete a comment, anyone can edit a comment. So let's go back, and let's start by adding in our edit route. So remember, for RESTful routing, I'll pull up our little table here and I'll preview it. Here we go. Let's take a look at edit. /dogs/id/edit as a GET request. And it's just going to show the form for one dog, in our case for one comment. And then we have update, which is /comments/id as a put. But for us, it's not just /comments/id/edit. Remember, it's a nested route. So if we look at the routes that we have, let me close this down. And if we go back to our README here, I'll just add them down here. Our campground edit looks like campground/id/edit. But remember that our comments routes are nested after campgrounds. So we have something like campgrounds/id/comments/id/edit. But this can also be called ID, so we need to change this because this one's ID. And if we tried to get both of them out, we would actually only get one. Basically, this one would be added first to our params under the name ID, then this one would overwrite it. So we'll call this comment ID. It can be anything, but this is the route that we're going to define. So campground/id/comments/comment ID/edit. It's a lot. All that we have to write, though, is this, because remember, in our app.js, where we require the routes, if we scroll down, we already add this in to all comment routes. So let's do that now. Comment these out for now. We'll start by focusing on this last bit of the edit route. So I have the comments.js routes file. We have new and create. Afterwards, we'll do a router.get/comments/id/edit. Function, request, and response. And what we'll do eventually is render a form, start with a res.send edit route for comment. And let's make sure that we can get to that route. So we restart the server, refresh here, and then we need to add on /comments/any ID, we can just do that, /edit. And there we go, we get edit route for comment. The next thing we should do is add in the correct link or the button that will take us to that edit form. So that's going to be our campground show page right here. And then if we find the part where we are looping through and adding in each comment, and before I go any further, I should point out I'm still in V10. So all these changes are in V10 if you're following along. So campground.comments.forEach, for each one, putting out the author username 10 days ago and comment.text. So below that, we'll just add in Bootstrap. We'll do an anchor tag with a Bootstrap class, btn, and we'll do btn-extra small, so it's smaller, and the color can be warning in our case. And then here we'll just add edit, and href is going to be pretty long. We need to do /campgrounds / our campground ID, which we're just dealing with campground. So we need to add in our EJS variable, campground dot, and this is going to be a bit of a mess, _ ID, and then we need a / after that, comments, and then our comment ID, and each individual comment in our for each is going to be just comment in EJS tags dot _ ID / after that edit. Very long. What we can do, something like this to clean it up just a little bit. It is gigantic. Just like that if we wanted to. We'll save, restart the server, although technically we don't have to do it right there. And we refresh. We now have our edit button. If we inspect it and take a look at the href, it's going to be long, but you can see it's campground / a huge ID / comments / a huge ID / edit. And that should now take us to the edit route, which we now want to render a form for that comment. So let's stop our server. Let's make that template, which needs to be called edit.ejs. So that needs to be inside of views. So touch views / comments / edit.ejs, and then open that up. There we go. And then let's actually just take the new comment, so new.ejs form, and duplicate that to start, because it's going to be very similar to the new form. The only difference is that rather than having an empty form to add a comment, it will actually have the previously existing data. So let's close that out, just paste that in here. And we do need to change a few things. Most notably, we can start by just changing this h1 to say edit. And then in the form, we need to change the action. We still need campground / campground ID / comments, but we also want / the campground, or excuse me, / the comment ID, which comment is not defined yet. So we will need to provide this. We're doing that error-driven development where we're writing the code that we want to work. So remember, inside of edit, we need to find the correct comment and then pass that to this template. So inside the route edit, we need to find that data, pass it to this template, so that we can then add the correct data into the form so that we see what we're editing. We see that data. And method will be a post because we're using method override again, but it's supposed to be a put, so we need this _ method equals put. And that should get us to update. And the next change that we'll make is we'll go to our input, and we want to give it, instead of placeholder, we want value, and then we need our EJS tags, and we're going to add in comment.text, which again, comment is not defined yet. So if we run this now, we'll get an error, and I click on edit, and we never rendered the form, so we actually don't get an error. If we go to our route though, and we actually render the form, so res.render comments / edit, we should now, if I restart and we try to go to this page again, the same edit, we get an error now telling us that campground is not defined. And then if we fix that, we'll also get another error that says comment is not defined. Now, we're not actually using campground in our template, except for this one part right here with the action, because we need that campground ID to actually set up the correct route so that we go to that edit route, which remember is that long, nasty, nested route, campground ID / comment / comment ID. We need that to work, but we don't need the entire campground with all the associated data. All that we need is the ID. So we can actually simplify this and just call something campground ID. It doesn't exist, but we'll pass it through in our template, and we have access to the ID in our comments routes. So you might be thinking we'd need to do something like campground.find by ID and then pass it in the ID from the route. We don't have to do that because we actually already have the campground ID inside of request.params.id. And in my opinion, this is pretty confusing because the way our routes are set up, all that it looks like we have is comment ID, but ID is what we defined in the app.js, which is back here, right here. So ID refers to the campground ID, and then comment ID is the ID of the comment. So if we just pass in campground underscore ID is equal to request.params.id, we shouldn't get that same error anymore. We'll have a different one, which is now telling us that, it's still telling us campground is not defined because we're using that back over here. We do want to change our template here. Let's just say edit comment for now. Now if we refresh, we get comment is not defined. So we need to fix that. And this time we actually have to look up the comment because we need the text inside of it. So that's a comment dot find by ID, and the ID is request.params.comment ID, the second thing. Then we'll have our callback with an error and found comments. If error, for now, we're getting very close to when we're going to implement those nice messages I keep talking about. For now, let's just do a res.redirect, back. Else, we just want to do this right here. And we also need to pass in comment, of course, which is just another one of these. Comment is found comments, just like that. Restart. So remember, we're taking this ID, the first one, which we're just calling ID, and we're passing that directly through. Then we're taking the second ID and looking up the corresponding comment using that ID. Now if I refresh the page, now we get our form. It's already styled because we just copied that one over. And then of course, think about what error you expect to see when I hit submit. Cannot put campgrounds, and that's because we don't have that route defined. So let's do that now. So we've done the first two actually of the tasks we wanted to do, edit route, edit button. Now we just need to update. So back to comments. Let me add another comment here. Let's do comments, edit route. And then we want comments, update. Just to refresh your memory, it needs to be a put request to /campgrounds /some campground ID /comments /comment ID, just like that. And that is going to be our update route as a put request. So router.put. Remember, we're using router here, which we're just defining right here and then returning that whole thing. Well, not returning it, but sending it out with module.exports rather than app.get. So router.put, and all we need is /comments ID, just like that. Request response. And as always, I like to start with a simple res.send. You hit the update route for comment. Let's try hitting it now with our form. Refresh, submit. Great. So our form's going to the right place, our router set up. Now we need the logic. And our logic is very similar to how we did it for a campground. If we look at update, campground.find by ID and update. We want to do the exact same thing here, but comment.find by ID and update. And remember that find by ID and update takes three different things: the ID to find by, the data to update it with, and then the callback to run afterwards. So we want a comment.find by ID and update. The ID is request.params.comment ID. this one here. The data that we want, if we go to our form, you'll see that we're calling it comment text. So we'll access it by comment.text, or just comment actually is all we need. So we can go back, request.body.comment, and that's just the entire comment object, which only has one thing, text, error, and then we'll call this updated comment. And then we'll check if there's an error. We'll send the user back just with res.redirect back. Otherwise, we want to send them back to the show page for the comment. And all that we need to do there is res.redirect. Remember, the show page is /campgrounds/an ID. And that ID we have, again, it doesn't look like we have it here. It looks like our route is just comment ID. I really think that's confusing to beginners. But if we go back, keep doing this, but if we go to app.js, remember all of our comment routes are nested after this. So there's always an ID for a campground. So we can use that request.params.id. And that should be all we need. So let's try it. Hopefully it works out for us. Let's edit this comment to be anything. Let's hit submit. And if we scroll down, perfect. We see anything. Let's try editing again. Perfect. It's working just fine. Great. So that was edit and update. Remember, we added in the edit route first, which is the form. And the reason that I did comments after campground is that it's a little bit nastier. It's a little extra syntax when you have to worry about those nested routes. But other than the routes and some of the ID names, everything is pretty much the same. Find by ID and update. We have an edit route, and then we have an update route. So we did that. We started with the edit route. We added the button in, which is actually a link, just with Bootstrap styling to look like a button. And then we added in, at the very end, the update route. Next, we'll do the exact same thing, but for destroying or deleting a comment.